Hey guys, welcome to the podcast today. And I've got Amy, the Lady Biz Wiz, coming out of Georgia. And she's an entrepreneur and she helps women entrepreneurs get their ideas to the marketplace. She's going to talk about her products, her business, inspirational guidance and wisdom, overcoming obstacles. And I'm really happy to have her on the show. So, Amy, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here today.
Yeah, briefly introduce yourself and we'll dive into into the questions.
Sure. My name is Amy Shippy, and like you said, I'm out of Savannah, Georgia. So right here on the coast of Georgia, which I love. I grew up in this area, and I have been an entrepreneur for the past 32 years. And as an entrepreneur, I have had all the ups and all the downs and recovering from both. I find that entrepreneurship can be somewhat lonely, but if you are strategic about it and build a community around yourself, that entrepreneurship doesn't have to be lonely. You can be in control a lot on your entrepreneurial journey if you take some steps to mitigate the ups and downs that are going to come with that journey. And so for me, I'm most proud of having my three sons, and we've had more entrepreneurial conversations over the years than I can count. And I love everything about business. I love really helping people understand that we don't always have all the answers, but it's the journey and it's the steps that we take that keeps us going in business that make us successful.
Yeah. Really interesting. And it's quite interesting because I'm a physician by training but I'm an entrepreneur at heart. And it's my colleagues, they raise their kids in a doctor family. But I noticed that a lot of my entrepreneurial friends, there is always discussions around how to solve problems, meaning of money, the value of money. Just a totally different mindset from the professionals and entrepreneurs. So one thing that question, which you're an entrepreneur at heart and you mentioned that neither success nor failure defines you, but the ability to keep moving forward does. So, what strategies, mind shifts help you persevere through the toughest and darkest times?
So I remember when I lost my business in 2012, and it was just a really difficult time. I had grown this business in my mid 20s, and we had grown it to a multi-million-dollar business per year. I was a millionaire before I turned 30. And so as I was approaching my 40s, we had lost our business in the recession. And I remember just being so utterly broken by that loss. And I really thought that success is what defined me and that I was what that success was. And so when that success went away, or how I thought it went away, I became very sad. I just didn't want to get up. I didn't really want to go and do anything. And my husband told me, he goes, "You know what, Amy?" He goes, "The path you're on is not a path for you." He goes, "You've just got so much more to offer." And he goes, "You've just got to get up." And so I said, "I think I can trust it if somebody will just give me the path all the way through and I can see so clearly where I'm going and I don't have any obstacles." And but I also knew that wasn't reality. Nobody was going to set me up stadium lighting so I could see every pitfall in my journey. And so what I realized in it was that it was the journey that made me and defined who I was. And so within a few weeks of losing our business, I started volunteering as a chaplain at a hospital, and I got to see things that were really super permanent. I got to sit in the gap of people saying goodbye to their loved ones that were young, loved ones that weren't sick and just all of a sudden were sick, and loved ones that were in accidents. And so I got to see that obstacles, no matter what, are a part of life. You're going to have to mitigate and overcome obstacles, whether it's in business or whether it's just in it just didn't go as you planned for it to go. And I think everybody out there can understand that you thought you were going one way and then you got a phone call or something happened and it stopped your forward momentum because it wasn't what you were expecting. It wasn't in your plan and you didn't know what to do with it. And so what I've decided to answer your question is that my path in overcoming obstacles is to set goals and projects that I can quickly achieve. So in business, if I want to get a new product launched, I just start working a pattern. And so I set small, achievable goals. As a doctor, when you do something great or somebody likes what you do, you get a little dopamine drop and it makes you feel super good. And so I feel that same way about setting goals. If I set goals that are achievable and then I achieve them and get to check them off my list, I feel happy, I feel successful, and I feel encouraged to go to the next step. Every time, no matter what the obstacle is, I may take a moment that I feel overwhelmed by the obstacle or I just don't have an answer. But at the end of the day, I just go back to the beginning, like, okay, how can we walk this path one stepping stone at a time?
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, it's quite interesting. People, like I said, that coming from, a line of doctors versus entrepreneurs, and doctors basically have a set path. You just have to but and these days there's no job security. Next question I have for you is, we talked about just the more meaningful part. And could you share a moment when you experienced significant failure and how that experience ultimately shaped your future success?
So we lost our business in I guess the recession happened in 2008 and we held on for several years. So we ended up losing our business in 2011. And again, I was just utterly broken. I just did not know what to do. My world had been defined by that the previous 14 years. And it was everything I had poured into, my husband had poured into was that business. And when I started it, my husband and I were dating and we had no children. And through that course of time, we had 3 children. And so life just looked really different. And I just didn't know what to do. I just did not know what the next step for me was. And I got very fortunate that in that time of just really deep sadness for me, I got invited to volunteer at a local hospital around the medicine. And you're right. In medicine, while there's a practice of medicine, there does seem to be protocols that most doctors follow, and you go through your checklist. But as an entrepreneur, you make up your own checklist. And so that checklist can be really anything you want it to be. And in that brokenness, I started volunteering at the hospital. And I was able to see that what I felt was permanent, what loss that I felt was permanent, was not permanent. It was a sadness for me, but I got to see sadnesses that were way more permanent in a hospital. I got to sit with people while they took their loved ones off life support. That's a really no coming back from that. That's a permanent loss. And mine was a business. And so I saw in the 9 months that I did that what made me successful did not die with my business. It still was part of my DNA. It still was part of me. And I was still going, then I could recreate what I had lost in a different realm. And that's what I did. 9 months after losing our business, I started a new business. And I did the same thing. I set small goals that I could achieve rather quickly. And then I started to feel good. And the better I felt about myself, because I started to realize I wasn't this one hit wonder, who I was intrinsically did not die. I was able to get myself back doing exactly what I love doing, which is owning a business and growing a business. And not everybody loves that part. Not everybody loves not having all the answers, but I love a great puzzle. And I always think of my business as all like a great puzzle. So for me, that is how I dug back in. And I was really thankful that I was able to have so much of a community of people that did not define me by my success and also did not reject me because of losing my business. They supported and loved me no matter what.
Cool. And Lady Biz Wiz is focused on helping and empowering women entrepreneurs because a lot of a subset of the audience are female. They could be executives or professionals, doctors, lawyers, dentists. And they're hearing this thing, entrepreneurship. Yeah, that's the way to freedom. And so talk about, for those inspired to take that leap, what are first key lessons to learn about entrepreneur? Because I meet some entrepreneurs and because they're in transition, and then they take the first job offer, because it's stable and it's a 9 to 5, it's more predictable. So what advice do you have for the female cohort listening?
So obviously entrepreneurship is not nearly as predictable as, going and getting a job. However, there is freedom in it. And people and freedom's very different for everybody. So for me, I'll define what freedom looks like for me. Freedom looks like for me the ability to schedule my time the way I want to schedule my time. It doesn't mean that I don't work 40 hours a week. I work 40 hours every week, but I control my time better than if I worked for somebody else that would control my time. So that's what freedom and entrepreneurship looks like for me. But as a woman entrepreneur, and really I think this would apply to women that are in the professional space. And so if you're a professional, a dentist or a doctor, you have the opportunity to create that into an entrepreneurial space. You can open practices, and I know many professionals that were dentists that decided to open their own dental practices, or doctors that decided to go into private practice for themselves, or lawyers, the same kind of thing. What I would say is that when you work for yourself, you are building something that your name is on. So for me, I always find that to be such a source of pride for me, because my business is so, or all of my businesses are so closely associated with who I am as a person. And I take a lot of pride in that. At the end of the day, though, if everything goes wrong or anything goes wrong, I have to fix that too. So there's really no group that's going to fix what goes wrong except for me. But truthfully, when I work with women entrepreneurs, or really even women executives that are trying to think about going off on their own, fear can be a big rider in, am I going to succeed? And maybe as an executive, or you're a great dentist, let's just say you're a great dentist, but you don't feel like you've got the solid business side behind you. You can always hire a great business side person to run your office, because your craft may just be in being a fabulous dentist. And so I'm also a big fan of not allowing what you think are your limitations to limit your success. Take a chance and go out there. I wrote my book about 2 years ago, and there's nothing more painful for me than sitting down and writing. So I don't write. I don't like to write. I don't write. But I like to talk, and I like to have my ideas. So I recorded my entire book and hooked up with a dear friend of mine who loves to write. And she took all of my words and put them into pages so I could get a book published. Without her help, or without her expertise in her field of what she was really good at, I would never have a published book. And so that's what I would encourage. Just because it's not something that you may enjoy, or is a limitation in your own self, do not be defined by those limitations. There are always people you can hire to help you through those obstacles if you don't have those in what I would say, your bag of tricks.
I love the bag of tricks analogy. The next question I have for you is this: you founded multiple businesses across different industries, and this sunk cost fallacy. How do you identify when's the right time to move from one idea to the next, or diversify? Or there's always this quote from Napoleon Hill: it's like you stop short 1 feet from the goal. We want to avoid that. So how do you know if when it's like time to stick it and when it's time to quit?
So for me, because we lost our business and all of my income came from that business, our whole entire family's income came from that business. So I remember telling my husband that I never wanted to have just one stream of revenue. I wanted to have multiple streams of revenue, which would give me, in my opinion, or maybe just in where I was, the, I think that's probably not exactly true, but would give me the comfort in realizing that I could mitigate up and down. If one business was slow, another stream of income would, and I wouldn't have all of my world tied to one. For me, if you take me on vacation, I'll come up with 10 business ideas on a week vacation. My husband doesn't like to take me on vacation very much. But truthfully, I can find, I carry notebooks with me like this. Wherever I go, I've got one in my car, I've got one on my desk. And so when I have an idea, I write it down. And I do my research, and I see, is there a way that I can make something special about that or do something different? 99% of them are no. 99% of them never see the light of day. But I also, before I start a new idea, I have to complete or get something to completion that I already had going, because there's no point in having everything just halfway done, because then you have a whole bucket of halfway done. And so I never move on to pulling a new business together until I have a business that is basically self-sustaining. So it's profitable, it's cash flowing the right way. And then where it can almost like a teenager, I can take my eyes off it a bit. It doesn't need me sitting there making sure it's being fed. It's that teenager in life. And then I can start and have a new baby, because that's what a new business is. It's like a brand new baby. So I like to make sure that anything, when I make the transition, that when I'm already have put my hands to, is already cash flowing, is already profitable. But nothing stops me from having 100 ideas a year.
Yeah. It's really interesting because I talked to so many entrepreneurs. One of my colleagues from college, he took a company public, and his was originally just the idea was born out from his laptop and just tinkering and now it's a publicly traded company. So and the more people I talk to, they do what you do. It's what is a problem? What's a pain? What's a frustration? And how can I take this and take it to the marketplace, what's the total addressable market and value? Very fascinating. So I have two more follow-up questions. Is one is so many like the internet has been such a fabulous, it's been basically empowered people to create their own destinies and so many digital tools. How how do you go about choosing which technology to leverage to grow your business? What are your go-to platforms? What do you think about AI and what are your professional goals for Lady Biz Wiz in the future?
Yeah, so AI, I've addressed that one. That one's been a little fascinating for me. So I have a design company and it has a bunch of SKUs because it's got 500 SKUs. It's got a ton of SKUs. And I find AI really quite interesting. And I've been able to put it into play. A pain point for me and my design company is writing descriptions and meta tagging photos and things like that to optimize my website. So I've been able to use really AI and grab onto that. So I was able to create a description of a product I like the sound of. And they said that worked. And I hit the button and all 500 descriptions got updated based on titles in 4 minutes. And that would have taken me hours or thousands of dollars to hire somebody to do that. And I'd uploaded a bunch of new photography and I found another AI program that was able to go in and meta tag the back end of all of my photos based on the descriptions that I had just written. And that pushed the button. And in, I think, 90 seconds, it had all of my photos meta tagged, which are big pain points for me because I find that really monotonous, minutia work very frustrating for me. So for AI, the masterclass, for instance, the masterclass I have launching next month for Lady Biz Wiz is a business plan masterclass. And when you complete the class, you will have a completed business plan. And I went into Chat GPT to write the outline for it. So I explained to Chat GPT what I wanted to do and what I wanted to cover. And I pushed the button. And 3 seconds later, it spit. I said I wanted 8 modules. I gave them good prompts. And 8 seconds later, it gave me my entire outline for my masterclass. And I tweaked it and things like that. But it really did a lot of work that would have taken me more time to create on my own. So I'm a big fan to the degree that I use AI in. In my graphic side, you can see I use Adobe Suites and so Adobe Photoshop and all that. They've now got AI components and all of that. So I can say, I love this building, but I want dolphins going across the front. And I can put that prompt into Photoshop now and AI will throw dolphins in front of the building. I use it a lot, but I think it's unlimited depending on what you want to do. I don't spend a lot of time in the tech space. Like I don't have any desire to create a tech company. I don't really spend time in that space. But I think it's really very helpful to put prompts in and it helps solidify ideas for you. And it'll put it together in a way that maybe you hadn't thought about it. So I'm a fan, but I'm not using it to nearly the scope that it could be used at. So I'm just using it. But it is helping me and saving me time. And so that when I have employees and things like that, they can get on to doing higher functioning or higher level work that I need done. And I can let AI do some of the lower, not less important, but lower things that can get done and they can get it done fast. And when I redid all my descriptions, it cost me $21. It was the best $21 I spent because it would have probably cost me about $4,000 to hire somebody to type in and create descriptions for 500 items.
Yeah. It's fascinating because like pre-COVID, I was like very little AI and now I'm like 90% AI and all it's like automation and software. And like I can get 10x the output for pennies on the dollar. It's a very powerful general purpose infrastructure technology. How can people find out more about you and they feel empowered, inspired, work with you and check out your socials, all of that?
Yep. So Lady Biz Wiz. So it's LadyBizWiz.com is my website. All of my products, there's an ebook link on there. You can order the paperback version if you want. The masterclass will be jumping up on there as soon as that's done. So all of that kind of links to me. All my socials use the same thing, Lady Biz Wiz on LinkedIn, Lady Biz Wiz on Instagram. And one thing I'm working on this year, so if you're not super great with social media, you can come join my tribe because I am not great at creating content for social media, but working really hard at that across my platforms to share this message. Because at the end of the day, wherever you are on your journey, all you have to do is take one step forward and then you're one step closer to your goal.
I love your passion and let's thank Amy for coming on and really inspiring conversation and, a true entrepreneur. And so thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.